Okay, so today what I thought I would do is I would show you my art studio. It's not perfect, it's still got a way to go, and ideally one day I will have my own room. At the moment it's kind of a shared office with my husband, but for the moment it works. It works, I like it. I've shown some of you the captain's desk that I had a while ago. I found that on Facebook Marketplace, I think for £80, and those things can retail for £600–800 and beautiful. I was so happy with it. But now I've decluttered my art stuff to the point where I actually have a spare drawer. And this isn't going to be perfect. I have hoovered in here because the carpet looked horrible. We don't have many carpets in this house, mainly because I have really bad allergies. So I hate them. We don't have one in our bedroom, but we've left them in my son's room and in the studio because at the moment we just can't afford to replace it with we can't afford to replace it with floorboards. It's not where I want it to be. It's not my dream studio, but it works, and it's still a place where I can sit down and draw and paint in peace, and I love it, and I thought I'd show it to you today. This is the room when you walk in. I'm not going to show you everything because some of the stuff is my husband's, but this is kind of my corner. So the desk is mine, the stool is mine, and then this thing up here is mine. And what I've done is I've got my mic up there for when I'm recording, and then I have two, what's the word I'm looking for, clipboards. This one's just a normal A4 clipboard, and it's got a sketch that I'm working on for the next book that's coming out in the next month or so, and this one's called Elwyn's Mermaid. I might change the name because this morning I found out that there's a book that's very similar in title. It's someone else, it's another name. I don't know if it's something like Edward's Mermaid or something like that, but it sounds too similar, so I might change the name. But when I wrote it, the name was Elwyn's Mermaid. So this is the illustration, and if you're wondering why it looks really grotty, that's because my son, the little ninja that he is, managed to pour kombucha all over it. Thankfully that's just the sketch, so it's not the end of the world, but that's why it doesn't look great. And then I have a second one which is much smaller, which I cut down to size so that I can paint something, and if it's anything like wet paint, I can just have it clipped there, push it in, and then that's it. And it's out of the way, and I'm very, very happy with it. At some point I might get an extra one of these, but as it is, I got this for free. I'm part of a zero waste group for where I live, and so people try and swap things that they're just not using anymore. I've swapped so many things on that website. It's fantastic for just getting rid of things which no longer have a purpose for you. But this really kind lady just drove over and brought this for us. So not only did I get it free, she delivered it for free as well, which was incredibly kind of her. I have this basket which is full of rubbish which needs to just go in the bin. I like the basket, but not so much when it's got rubbish in it. At the bottom here is all my decluttering and my package stuff. So I have some things like envelopes, and then other stuff that I need to just declutter. If I'm not sure about what I want to give away, I just leave it in this bin so that I can think about it. It also keeps it out of the way and everything clean. So this is my packaging bin and my decluttering bin. Then this is my makeup. So this holds all my professional makeup in here. And then this is for all my cables, my computer, my memory cards, my charger, my hard drive, that kind of thing. So that goes in here. This is my glue guns bin, which, as you can see, is massive. The plan is that once I've used all these up, I'm just not going to get them anymore. It doesn't make much sense to me that I'm trying to cut down in plastic with everything else and then keep using glue guns, but there's no point chucking it. That's just even more of a waste. So once they're used up, that's it, and then this bin can be used for something else. This is my stuff I have to use up drawer. A lot of the things when I was decluttering were things that either needed to be used up or just weren't getting enough use, but they weren't the kind of thing that you could give away because no one's going to be looking for that second hand. So these two drawers, so this one and that one, are all things which I just need to use up. I don't want them taking up space in my captain's desk, so it just all goes in here where it's a little bit easier to see, and it's just too easy in my captain's desk to just close the drawer and forget about it. This is a little bit more visible, so every time I walk in here I'm reminded that I need to find things to use this for. There's some stuff like the gesso back here, which is just going to be, that's not to get you, well, it is to get used up, but it's not the kind of stuff that I'm looking to get rid of so that I never buy it again. This I use all the time, but it just fits. It doesn't fit in the captain's desk, unfortunately. It's just a tiny bit too tall, but the PVA glue and this are things I use regularly, but it's just the best place to store them. So these two drawers are just things that I need to use up, and it's all kinds of annoying little things like feathers that I've collected over the years. So many feathers, and then a hat I need to fix. So that's how this works. I have my big tripod hidden down the side. I was a little stupid and I didn't think about this. I should have put the hooks that I put here on the other side so that there's not this clutter hanging out visible. I've also got my editing headphones. If I'm editing, I like to have headphones that actually go over my ears. It's just, you're much more likely to pick up on weird sounds that you might have missed otherwise. I should have thought about it, and I should have put this one and that one on the other side so that it was just a nice clean surface, but I didn't think about it. And to be honest, it's not the end of the world. So I might move it around at some point and then just put wood putty over the holes and sand over it. But for the moment, it's really not high on my list of priorities. Next up is this little Ikea stool. Now this little DIY is something that I did a while back on my Instagram. I just got some Hessian, some tacks, and I put some here. I put some at the bottom as well. You can see it's kind of bulging. Ideally, what I should do at some point is properly nail in some plywood so that the bottom is a little more secure, but for the moment it works. I don't think I'm going to change it until the bottom actually falls out. And I've just covered up all the sides. This thing I should have just, I'm a little bit annoyed at how I could have done the sides a little bit better, but to be honest, it's the kind of thing that just annoys me, no one else notices. And then what I do is I keep all my papers and my notebooks in here, a few paintings which I still need to put up on eBay and sell, but all that goes in here. And what I like is that this forces me not to go crazy with all the extra paper. I don't know about you, but I'm really bad with art supplies. It's just my kryptonite. Going into hobbycraft is just my idea of heaven, and I just want everything. And I'm trying to avoid that. I'm trying to just buy things that I actually use and love. And I'm getting better at it. I am getting much better at it. And the annoying thing is that I'm finding that I just end up painting and drawing more because there isn't all this stuff that when I open the drawer I just feel guilt because I know I haven't used it in years. Instead, now when I open my drawers I just feel really happy because it's stuff that I know I use, I know I love, I've been very careful in keeping it in my collection, and it just makes me very happy. So yeah, I'm very glad that I've built in systems that force me to consider really carefully what else I bring in and don't allow me the space to go crazy and keep hoarding stuff again. So yeah, I'm very happy with this little Ikea stool. And at some point what I'm thinking of doing, and I've been thinking of doing this for possibly 2 years now, I want to do, you know those beautiful Viking carvings, and you'd see all those beautiful wooden carvings. I want to do something very, very small like that on the corner of that stall. Here, I'm thinking a little carving there, a little carving there, nothing massive and big. I don't want to have to do this massive carving over the whole thing, but just a little bit of art everywhere. One of the things I'm trying to do with this house very slowly is just to make everything beautiful, because I find that it's really good for your mental health if the things that you surround yourself are things that you really genuinely love and make you happy. I like how the stall looks for the moment, but it can be more beautiful, and that's something I want to do. It's not anything I can do yet, and I haven't done any hand carving in a while, so I am going to be a little bit rusty. I'm happy with this, and at some point I'll upgrade it, but for the moment it works just fine. Let's start with the desk. This is my beautiful captain's desk. I've got my little mug of tea which I need to finish before it goes cold, but let's start over here. I'm going to have to apologise in advance. Some of these are probably going to be messy. This one actually looks quite good, but this is my watercolors drawer. So I have a few towels, and as you can see there's one that I consistently mess up and the others I leave clean. This one I mainly tend to use if I'm drawing with pencil and I need to rest my wrist on something and I don't want to smudge it. So these are my watercolor towels and my general painting and drawing towels. Underneath I have a few old plates and dishes that I use as paint palettes. This is actually for holding a candle, but it works really well as a paint. Then this one was from an old Japanese watercolor set that I have, that's fantastic. again also from an old Japanese watercolor set, and this one is the, what's the word I'm looking for, the lid for a glass candle, and it's also a very good palette. This is probably something that I should declutter, but I do find that I use these regularly, so yes, I have a lot of them, but they're used, and the whole point of decluttering isn't to get rid of stuff that you use and love, it's to get rid of stuff that you don't. So I have a little bit of black ink, and then I have these, which I love, and these are powders that you add water to and then they turn into a paint. So I have a bronze. I know this says bronze, but it isn't bronze, it's silver. And then I have a gold. And then over here I have some of my watercolor pencils. As you can see, these are quite well used, but that's where I keep everything that's more or less watercolor related. But I use my watercolors so often they're not normally kept in this drawer, they're kept higher up. Anyway, that's that drawer. And then for the second drawer, I keep some of my painting palettes and outlines, and then the carbon tracing paper. These are the palettes that I use the most. Not palettes, wrong word. These are the paper and the pads that I use the most, so that's where I keep these. I have some of the bigger ones over there in the stool, but the smaller ones and the mid-sized ones are the ones that I tend to use the most, so that's what I keep in here. And then the third drawer are all my pan pastels. In here I've got my pastel blending brushes, mostly makeup brushes. Actually, I don't think there's a single normal art brush in there, so yeah, these are all makeup brushes. They all go there. Then I have some blending pencils, I have some Zestic, and this is for blending out the polychromo pencils. Then I have my polychromos. These are my recently decluttered polychromos. Now I think I have 33 of these, I think. Originally I had 120, and I've done a video all about how I declutter, especially things like the pencils and my pens, so I have done a video about that already. So if you want to look at that, you can have a look at the channel. I have some backup pencils, the ones which are very, very dark. I have my Watercolor pencils, which are heavily used and very much loved. And let's see if I can open this one-handed. Yeah, these are my Watercolors, and these are the ones that I use the most for portraits. So that just goes down the side here. And then I have my charcoal, I guess charcoal sticks. It's not a pencil, it's just a plain charcoal stick. So that's all in there. And there's a few things like gel pens at the back here. Then up here I have my pens. So I've got my mechanical pencils, all my Pentel pens in the various different sizes. This one I think is one of the really, oh no, that's one of the bigger ones, so that's 0.4, and then I have smaller ones. These are my pens. Again, these have been decluttered. They're the Faber-Castell pens, and then I have some more of the Pentel pens. And then this is my art roll, and this is just a roll of all the things that I regularly reach for. So I have things like the blending pens, I think they're called tortillons. I can't remember the pronunciation of them, but I have these, they're for blending. Then I have some of the small mechanical pencil lead refills. I have an Opinel knife. I don't use sharpeners for my pencil. I have a small rubber here, and that's obviously for something very small. I have a brown pen, mechanical pencil. This is one of the larger ones. These are for sculpting, but they're very good for blending fine details around the eyes or adding skin to texture. And it's like being able to use your finger if you like to use your finger for blending, but instead a very, very fine, thin finger. And then I have some of the Faber-Castell Pitt pens, some art brushes, some makeup brushes, which I cut down because originally they didn't fit well inside this, and now they fit much better, and I use these for blending. More things that I use for blending. This is one of those pen extenders. It's a graphite pen, but it's about this big now, and I needed it to be longer so I could use it, so it's on an extender. I have I can't remember what this one's a white pastel pen. I like this one for highlights. A smaller mechanical pencil, a black Faber-Castell polychromo, and then some gel pens. And these are just the things that I use regularly all the time, so I like not having to grab everything from various drawers. It's just all in one place and it's much easier. Okay, so that's all the drawers. You're probably wondering what that box is at the back. This was a box that we just had lying around really from when we moved. but it's very good for me to keep all the packaging that I can recycle. If I buy anything and it comes wrapped up in plastic bubble wrap, or if it comes in a nice tissue that I can reuse, that all goes back there, so it's just out of the way. And then over here what I have is just blue tacked. I have a light, so I can adjust the setting. I can put it on a very bright light, or I can put it on a yellow light. So this one's the blue light. I can put it on as a yellow light. I can also adjust the brightness, so I can have it very bright, or I can have it just slightly bright, and it's very useful, and I like the fact that I can move it around. So maybe if I'm not filming, I can move it a little bit closer. If I am filming, I can change the angle so it's over there, and it's just an incredibly useful little thing to have. Because I use my watercolors the most, I keep my watercolors in here. I've got my W.H. Smith palette. This one I have been using for a very, very long time. It's very used and abused, and I love it. Then I've got a little metal one that I put together myself. I think I did a blog post on Claire de Lys years ago, but since that website's mainly used for my books and my stories, you might not be able to find it anymore. Let's see if I can show this to you without making a mess. It's got one of those little travel brushes, which I really, really like. And to be honest, if I'm on a roll, sometimes I forget to use my other paintbrushes and I just use this. I've got some little swatch cards just so I know what they look like, because some of these are more expensive and some of them are very cheap, and some of them, I don't know if you can see, are a bit grainy and gritty, which is sometimes perfect, but sometimes it's not what I need. So having that swatch card just helps me see what the colours actually look like. That's what I have there. What I really like about this one is that it has a little handheld, there's a word for it, but what I like is it has this little ring at the back. You just put your thumb through, and then if you want to paint and just have this open, you can. And it's a nice way to just have a palette that's quite versatile and handy. Then here I have a little spray bottle for, obviously, for doing watercolours. Here I have a little clip. Sometimes you just need to clip things together and it's just a useful thing to have. I have some white ink, I have some art masking fluid, I have some sea sponges if I want to do any kind of texture. I have 2 pairs of glasses because I have the brain of a stone goldfish and I forget things, and I like to be able to see when I'm painting, so I keep 2 of my glasses here and the 3rd one I'm currently wearing. I have an ink which I desperately need to use up. I'm almost there. I mean, it's actually, she lies, that's pretty darn full. I mean, it's almost finished, but that's here, so I remember to use it and finish it up. And then there's my tea, which I desperately need to drink before it goes cold. And then just because I don't have enough lights, I have this one, which used to be my husband's, but I have since claimed it as my own. I have blue tacked it so that I can just kick it and turn it on, and this one's much, much brighter, and I like that because then I can have the very bright light here, and then maybe I can move this one and have it coming from the side, and it just means no matter what I need for painting or drawing, I can get the right amount of light. Now that that's all done, let's have a look at the actual desk. Originally it didn't have this bar, which was very annoying. Every time you tried to put something on here, it would just slide off if it was too heavy, and now this stops it. It's just an incredibly cheap, and I mean that in every sense of the word, piece of wood that I got from Hobbycraft for far too much money for what is essentially kindling. It's garbage, but it works, and I painted it with that brown ink that I just showed you so that it at least semi-matches. At some point I will replace this, but for the moment it does the job. And then in here I have the laptop that I use for editing. And you're going to have to excuse me, it is a bit dusty in here because I keep using it and forgetting to clean it, but inside it has all these really handy little drawers, and apparently I have dead fairies in this one. I don't use these that often, to be honest, because I can often either find reference photos or just blackmail someone into modelling for me, but I don't know, I haven't decided to declutter these yet. So these are just my little reference models. In here I keep blue tack because it's a godsend and it's useful for so many things. In here I keep a little stamp whenever I do giveaways or if I sell any of my paintings. I like to wrap the paintings in this black tissue, and then I'll do a little wax stamp on the top and I'll mix it with a gold and a red wax, and it looks beautiful. And obviously a lighter to light the candle. In here I keep all my blending tools. These ones at the back are technically for eyeliner, but they are amazing for blending really detailed stuff. If you're trying to do skin or lips or shading around the eyes, they're incredible. I also have some smaller paintbrushes, which I also use for blending. Some of those, these are technically for nail art, but they're really good for watercolors. So I keep those in here, and I can't put it back together with one hand, so I'm just going to put it back in like that. And then some paper blending sticks. In here I've got a few glue sticks. I've got a pencil sharpener, which I don't know why I keep, because I don't think I've ever used this. Actually, you know what? I hate this. I don't know why I've used it. That can get decluttered. I know one of my siblings will use it, so into the bin it goes. Right, that's better. So the rest of the stuff I have in here are a small pair of detail scissors. These are a folding pair of scissors. This is a replacement for that small rubber pencil that I've got. And then these are some refills for my really small mechanical pencil. In here I've got, these are makeup puff pads, but they're really good if you're drawing. So let's say I'm drawing with my right hand. I've got my pen here. What I'll do is I'll put this just on these two fingers. So I'll put this on these two fingers, and then that way I can have my hand leaning on the paper, but I can still draw, and I know that the oils on my skin aren't going to mess the paper up. So these all go in here. And then here I have my rechargeable batteries, which I use for a lot of various different things. What I normally do when I buy batteries is I try and put the dates from when I bought them. That way, if the battery starts running out really quickly, I know if it's just because I need to recharge it or because it's just too old and it needs to be recycled. So that's one of the things I do. And then in here, and I know this is a bit odd to keep in an art desk, but I do actually use it. I have a red, what's the word I'm looking for? A red nail varnish, a black nail varnish, and 2 clear nail varnishes. I use these quite a lot if I'm trying to add names or labels to things, or if I'm trying to mark stuff. I like to use these. And then at the back I have some gold foil, which I really need to use. So I think what I'm going to do, I'll just take this out. I really need to use this. It's some really good gold foil, and it's not getting used. I've had it for years. I need to use it, so I'm just going to put it right there so it's the first thing I see when I open the desk. Hopefully that will guilt me into using it more. Okay, so that's everything that's in here. That's everything that's in there. I don't know if you can see, but that part folds over so that it's closed, but I tend to keep it open all the time because sometimes I'll put that, sometimes I'll move all my paintbrushes and then I'll put them over there, but yeah, I rarely close it, so it just stays open and then I can have my tea on the side. Okay, last little bits. This isn't going to be as exciting. At the top I just have my wood carving tools. I do actually have a wood carving knife. This thing is amazing. It cuts so well. What I like about this one is it's very, very nice to use. If I'm trying to whittle away at something, I can get a really good grip here and I can just slowly take little shavings off. It's a lovely carving knife, and oh, I'm very much in love with this knife. And then in here I've got some texturizing tools, a toothbrush, which is amazing for adding texture. Then I have some pliers, I have a tiny little jewellery hammer, I've got some very, very small wood carving knives. Well, they're not really knives, they're more like, what's the word? I've forgotten the proper word for them. They're not knives, but kind of handheld wood carving tools. In here I've also got some smaller wood carving tools, and then I've got the crook here as well. This one is if I'm making, this is the one that I use if I'm trying to make a spoon or something like that. I didn't want this to just rattle around the drawer and chip away. I accidentally did that to some of my kitchen knives. I had them loose in the kitchen drawer and it really damaged the blade. So to avoid that happening, I just put that on a cork and then wrapped a rubber band around it so that it would be nice and safe and not get damaged and chipped, because I have no idea how on the earth I'm going to sharpen this if I ever need to sharpen it, so I'd rather it didn't get blunt anytime soon. In here is empty, and I know that's shocking because that was not the case a few years ago, but it's actually empty. Here we have another empty drawer. I know, like I said, this side is not as exciting. And then at the very bottom, I just have notebooks and my receipts for tax. So you really don't need to see that, you'll just be bored. But anyway, that is my art room, my art desk, everything that I use. I hope you liked it. It's quite different to what I used to have. I will put pictures showing you what it used to look like. In my defense, this is not what the room looked like. This is when we just moved into the flat and we were just dumping all the moving boxes into their respective rooms. I hadn't organized it yet, but it does give you an idea of just how much less stuff I have now. And I'm very happy for that because I use it so much more, and I don't feel guilt every time I open my drawers and think, ugh, I don't use that, I don't use that, I don't use that either. Now when I open it, I just think, yes, I use all of this and I love it. So yeah, that's my art room. I hope you liked the video and I'll have a new one for you soon. And as usual, if you like my videos and want to see more content, feel free to follow me on the mailing list. Do not subscribe to me on YouTube. That way you get everything sent directly to your email, and I'll have a new video for you soon.